Hey everyone, and welcome back to my craft room. For those of you who don't know me, my name's Julianne Richards and I'm a independent Stampin' Up! Demonstrator in southern Tasmania in Australia. Anyone who's watched my Facebook page lately or a previous video will realise that I am doing a 7-card in 7-day challenge to myself in the lead up to the International Day of Happiness, which is the 20th of March. I've already done one video, which hopefully you've seen already. That was released yesterday. And today's video is using the beautiful Friendship stamp set. As I say, I'm sort of aiming at the friendship the happiness that we bring each other through our friendship and our connections with the ones we love. And this beautiful friendship is one of my favourites. So regardless of anything else, crafting with this stamp set makes me extremely happy. And one of the principles of Happiness Day is that we should all do something that makes us happy. This stamp set definitely qualifies for me. I don't actually have a sample to show you because I am actually sort of half prepared and half playing it by ear with this card. I found creating 7 cards is quite challenging to me in such a short time. So bear with me and I'll just check that my iPad is catching up and that the sound is working. In such a short time. So okay, it is. With me, so I'll just check that my iPad is catching up and that the sound is working. Dear me. In such a short time. So okay, sorry about that. I'd covered over the sound with the button. Anyway, okay, so let's get crafting. So I'm going to be a little bit cheeky with this one as well because I'm bringing in some elements from the Ornate Garden suite, which has been released to demonstrators early, but will be released to customers on the 4th of April. So if you're watching this video before the 4th of April, you might have to hang out a little bit for some of the things I'm using today, but it won't be long, and you'll be able to get your hands on them after the 4th of April. Okay, so what I'm actually doing, as I say, is I've got the beautiful Friendship stamp set, and I have my normal sized Whisper White card base. Here we go. And that's just there. That's 8 1/4 inches by 5 3/4 inches, scored in the middle. Don't need that quite now, so I'll pop it away. I have a panel here, and this is where I've started to introduce the newer products. I've got another panel of Whisper White here, which I have actually embossed with the Ornate Floral embossing folder. And it's really sweet, and hopefully you can see it in the light here. It's really, really sweet in the fact that it's got tiny little flowers and leaves in it. So yes, I think you can see it okay there. It's really lovely. I was tempted to use the stone embossing folder, but I thought I'd try out something a little bit new today and use this since we've got some beautiful flowers in our stamp set. So that panel is actually cut a quarter of an inch smaller than the base card all the way around. So that would be 5 1/2 by 3 7/8. And as I say, I've already popped that through the embossing folder, so you don't have to watch me do that. I then have another panel of Whisper White, which is going to eventually sit on top like that, and that is a full inch smaller all the way around. So that one, and I've got to remind myself, that one's actually 2 3/8 by 2 7/8 by 4 1/2. So that sort of fits in the middle of that panel quite snugly with a nice large border. Didn't want to cover over our beautiful embossing too much, so I've made that quite small. Then I have as well this beautiful sort of lacy floral sentiment box, and this one, as I said, I've cheated slightly, is from the Ornate Layers die set, which is also part of the Ornate Garden suite, which is soon available. I just couldn't resist those beautiful swirls and flower sort of little pattern there. So this one has got some beautiful borders, layers here. If you like to count your die sets by the number of dies you get, this one's very good value. 1, 2, 3. It'll tell me here how many there are. There are actually 8 of these beautiful sort of floral ornate dies for borders and sentiments in your cards. So watch out for that one. That's really nice. So anyway, as I say, in Whisper White, I've got one of these borders which is going to sit on the top of my card once I've stamped it. So that's all I've prepared. So let's see how it goes. Let's get this out of the way. So I've got all my stamps already blocked up. So I'm going to be using a combination of Flirty Flamingo and Merry Merlot and Old Olive and Daffodil Delight. So let's see how we go with that. It seemed good in theory when I was planning this one. So I've got the beautiful big rose bloom or bloom from the stamp set. I'm going to pop that in Flirty Flamingo. And it's quite a wide flower, so I'm going to rotate it a little bit so that I can get the whole thing in. And I want to put, it's sort of like a mirror image of itself in the card. So I'm going to sort of position this up with my grid paper and sort of estimate where halfway is, be about there. I'm going to keep it around the top half of the card. There we are. Oh, and I should have bought my foam mat in. Bear with me. Sometimes these photopolymer stamp sets, as you know, have struggled to make contact with the paper. So I'll bring in my foam mat from my Stamparatus, or any foam mat would do. If you put that under there, you'll actually get a better stamp with these clear stamp photopolymer stamps. So I'm then going to flip it upside down and do it at the same sort of angle there on the bottom half. And you might see the difference. Oops, that's not too bad. You can see I did miss a couple of patches in the top one where I didn't have my foam mat in place, whereas it's perfect in the bottom one. It doesn't matter too much because we're going to be covering over some of the stamp anyway, so that one's fine. So that's my Flirty Flamingo. And then what I thought I would do is, you've got to put the centres in these little, and forgive me, I haven't blocked these up. I've got to pop the centres in these little flowers. So I just grab my small block, and that's what I'm going to use the Merry Merlot for, because it's slightly darker, well, very much darker than the Flirty Flamingo. And so one has his centres there, and flip it around there. And the other one, I'll pop it back so I don't lose them, which I have been known to do during these videos. And the little centre is just for the little flower. You've got to get the right orientation. Here we go. 1 and 2. Okay, so they're the little stamens of our little flowers. There we go. So I'll get that Merry Merlot away as well. Okay, so I'm going to do some leaves with, I'll do the yellow first. The yellow, I'm going to use the beautiful sort of, there's a spray sort of flower, a bit like a lavender. You don't have usually yellow lavender, but I just love this one. So it's really nice to make borders and things of up and around the edges of your flowers. So I'm going to pop a couple in there. And this is in my Daffodil Delight. And the same here. You can probably tell I'm a sucker for symmetry. I like things to be symmetrical, and that's how I've done this again. Anyway, all good. A bit of symmetry. Okay, so that's our Daffodil Delight, and then I'm going to bring in the Old Olive, and I'm going to stamp some leaves. And I think the leaves of these particular stamps really sort of, the green of the leaves really lifts them. Really, they look a bit nothing until you bring in your leaves. So we'll pop some leaves around, trying not to cover over the colour too much because I don't want to sort of ruin that. hopefully you agree that that really has lifted the card beautifully. And again, I've done the same top and bottom with my symmetry. There we go. Okay, so hopefully you like that colour combination. Just show you a bit closer. So that's our flowers, and it can be the same top or bottom. It's exactly the same. Just make sure you can see that. Yeah. Okay, so what I thought I then would do, and we're really on uncharted territory now, is bring back all the pieces that I've created. I thought I will pop the embossed panel directly onto our card base. When I do embossing, heavily embossed panels, I tend to like to use double-sided tape. Actually take that out now. I like to use double-sided tape just to make sure I get the proper, get it to stick as well as it can. I'm going to put it that way. There we go. Okay, so put that in the right way. Yep. Pop that on in the centre there. Okay, so that's the embossed panel. Just close my door though. Somebody's come into my house. My husband, I assume, not a stranger. Okay, so then we have our stamped panel, which is going to sit on top of there like that. And then we're going to put our sentiment in the centre there. These are going to cover over a little bit of our stamping, but the sweet thing is you can actually see some of the colours coming through those little gaps. I'm actually looking at it wondering whether it needs a bit of colour. As I say, I'm doing this one on the fly. I know that needs a bit of colour behind there. There's a sort of a flirty flamingo panel or something. Let's experiment with that. I haven't got one cut, so bear with me. I will just cut one. I will just cut a little panel just to fit behind there. I don't know if I'm going to use it, but let's have a look and see. That's the fun of live videos. So I think I said that was 3 wide, so just a tiny bit more than 3. Let's just check. No, it wasn't 3 wide. 2 1/8, so it's going to be 2 3/4 wide. And what was it, 4? 4 1/2, so 4 and there. Okay, so I'm not sure I'm going to like this, but let's give it a go. Oh, I think I've cut that too small. Oh, oops, I have to. Let's just have a look and see if I actually like it before I cut another one. Yeah, I do. Okay, sorry about that, guys. I've cut that too narrow. Cut another one. So that's okay, so just a tiny little border of flirty flamingo coming around the outside, so it matches with our flowers. And it just gives our little panel a little bit of extra oomph there against the white of the embossed panel. And then if I bring in my sentiment box there, you can see it doesn't all disappear into one white sort of blob. Okay, so I'm happy with that. So I'm going to add the with some glue. I'm going to add our stamped panel to our flirty flamingo panel or layer, whatever you like to call it. then I'm going to bring in some dimensionals and mount this one up on just dimensionals away from our embossed layer. Two there, don't really want two. Okay, so we'll bring this one in here in the centre there. And I'm going to stamp our little sentiment box with the sentiment out of the beautiful Friendship stamp set. It says, "So very happy to know you." So it's for, as I say, spreading a little bit of happiness to our friends. So I'm going to do that in the Merry Merlot because it's a nice dark bold colour. I might actually pop it. I'll pop it in the centre because I'm going to bring in some sparkle as well. Pop it in there. There we go. And I'm going to put this, just gluing it onto that little bit there. So we'll actually have a little bit of height on the edge there. And there we go. There we are. Okay, so how's that? We're liking that? I think that's quite sweet. I love that ornate sentiment box. Okay, and so what I thought I might do as well is just bring in some gold embellishments, and I haven't got them out there with me. Very organised today, not? Okay, so I've got the champagne gold embellishments from the current mini catalogue from the Parisian suite. So I'm just going to bring those, just put a couple of those on. Just all around. Caped me. There we go, just for a tiny bit of bling. There we go. And there we go, it's all done. So you've seen some new stuff here. We've seen the floral, the ornate floral embossing folder, and one of the layers from the ornate layers dies there, with some old favourites being the beautiful Friendship stamp set. Okay, so that's quite nice, I like that. So that's card number 2 of my 7 cards of 7 days happiness challenge. If you come back same time tomorrow night, I will have card number 3. And as I mentioned at the beginning of my first video, if you'd like to put a comment in the comments, maybe say hello, tell me where you're from, and tell me that you'd like to be in the draw to receive the 7 cards that I create over the 7 days. On the last day, on the 20th of March, I will draw one lucky recipient to receive all 7 cards. So hopefully that will make you very happy as well. Okay, thanks very much everyone. As I said, this is card number 2. I'll see you back next time for card number 3.